City of Canby actually since 2014. You are likely relatively familiar with the firm. But the firm was founded in 1998 by Pam Beery and Paul Elsner, who were local government attorneys, and they had a vision of founding a firm that serves only local governments in Oregon. So we're the only, we're one of the only, if not the only, private law firm in Oregon that only serves local government entities. And the idea behind the firm is that every municipality, large or small, has the same array of legal needs as the bigger municipalities such as Portland, Multnomah County, Eugene, Salem, with the same level of expertise. But it is very difficult to afford, a city like Canby afford, the 38 that the city of Portland has in those units. And so the firm is set up to limit all kind of trends are well versed in what I call law, so public needs, public records, ethics, legislation, charters, code, all of our trainings are experts in that area, and even to brag a little bit about our firm, I don't consider that we have a training state organ that has the same level of expertise in political law that we do. And then in addition to just like the general government law, each one of our attorneys has a specialty. Like the city of Portland, the city of Canby doing land tax, the city of real estate, land use planning, or a specialist in the business world of land use law. We're going to need a public contracting expert to do building use and all. So each one of our attorneys, in addition to the general government, has an expertise in the area. Mine is legal. And so our structure of our firm is that we work with each one of our lawyers. You may not realize it. Sometimes it's very obvious when you're emailing back and forth with, our land use specialist or public contracting specialist. But, because we're such a small firm, we're going to still have a public room. So I took a look at the file this week last year that we've been doing and then to the attorney. And you've worked with almost all of our attorneys. There's been emailing back and forth and discussions. So although we have that model, in order to facilitate the relationship, we assign an attorney to be a primary attorney. And so that primary attorney is the one who will be attending all of the meetings that they're general government reform, and they're going to field your incoming emails, usually from Eileen, because I have this this IGA, or we're having this, we have this issue that we need some legal help on. That's the person who will receive the email and then answer it if it's within that general government law spectrum. But if it's outside their expertise and you need a subject matter expert, send it out to someone within the firm that can fulfill that. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a minute. I do want to say that I'm really proud of Barry Elshorn Hammond and the firm that we are and that we have become. And part of it is the type of attorneys that we attract and retain. So I said we had 10 attorneys. Some of them, like me, have a background exclusively in local government law. I haven't researched an issue or represented a client that wasn't a local government Oregon in my entire legal career. I think Emily D is on that same career track, where it's exclusively local government law. We also have other attorneys such as Josh, who come to us from an in-house background, and he can talk a lot about what the differences are, both in terms of, from perspective of the attorney and the pluses and minuses for the local government about having a firm versus somebody that is that comes from the outside. We also have attorneys that come from a little bit different background. For instance, Emily was with the governor's office. I'm sorry, Emily M. was with the governor's office and specialized in public records, and that has brought so much valuable expertise to us. And then you may have met Chad Jacobs. He was in-house with the city of San Francisco for a number of years. He moved up here and was general counsel for the League of Oregon Cities and has been a partner with BH, I think, since 2014 or so. So me personally, as I mentioned, I have been with Barry Elshorn Hammond for 10 years this month. I was with Local Government Personnel Institute prior to that. Again, only represented local governments. I became a partner in 2019, September of 2019, and my specialty is labor employment.
I'm Emily Madisar. As Ashley mentioned, I worked for the governor's office before I came to Erie Alternate Hammond. I have been at the firm since June 2020. And I recently became a partner, Josh and my area of expertise, as Ashley mentioned, is public records, also public meetings, government ethics, and sort of government transparency issues, and litigation is another one of my areas of expertise.
Hi, I'm the other Emily. I'm Emily Grandlots. I've been with EH for close to a year now. Prior to that, I was with another firm that provided similar services for a couple years. Like Ashley, I subspecialize in labor and employment issues, but I'm happy to address the general governance as well.
My name's Josh Soper. I joined the firm in 2022, and like Emily said, I'm partner this year. Before coming to BEH, I was in-house counsel for local governments, so I spent about 4 years in Coos County, including as their county counsel, and then went to the city of Sherwood and was their in-house attorney for about 7 years. My entire career has been local government law. And my specialty area, as Ashley mentioned, is land use.
Great. So I will let each of us just kind of do a quick introduction, but I'll have Eileen start.
Okay. So I'm Eileen Stein, I'm the city administrator here. Been here for coming up on a year, fully permanent appointment. With that, I was interim for 6 months before that. So I have served, my whole career has been in local government as well. On the administration side, I've worked for Springfield, Sisters, Westland, Clackamas County, and Mount Angel, and now Canby. So have lots of experience. I've probably worked with, you all seem familiar to me. Yeah, anyway, that's a little bit about who I am, so.
Scott Sassy, City Council. Are we going to a full bio or totally live, family?
Blood type, long walks on the beach.
All positive.
Dan Stearns, I'm a city councilor, and when I'm not doing city councilor, most of the time I'm tax and accounting firm that I have here in Canby, and I do a lot of tax litigation as well, just for fun.
Just for fun. Could we know how long you've been on the council? I think that would be helpful.
December will be a year. I took over for a gentleman that resigned, so.
And I did the same, about a year and a half in December.
Hi, Jim Davis. We met outside, and I've been on the city council for too long. 2 years.
Whatever. You've been attending these meetings for a long time.
Yeah, I have been, yeah. I'm also soon to retire from the fire department in December, and yeah.
Chief Counselor Davis.
Yeah, lived in Canby since '95, so love it.
Okay. Tracy Hensley. I've been on the city council since 2011. Currently council president. I have lived here since 1996. So I've been in Canby a long time.
And I'm Mayor Brian Hodson. I've been the mayor of Canby for the last 12 years. And then prior to that, I was on the council for a year and a half before that. I do have a day job, though this job is often done between the hours of 10 p.m. and 1 or 2 a.m. Just kind of the way the brain works sometimes, but thoroughly enjoy it and love it and really appreciated what BEH has done for us over the last year, and then even David in his role as our land use attorney with a lot of things, so really appreciate that aspect of it, so.
Don't forget Jason.
And I'm sorry, Jason Patton, who's on Zoom, thank you.
Yes, hello. My name is Jason Patton. I've been on council now for 2 years, but before that, I had served on council back in 2009 to 2010. And I've been doing work with the Canby City government now for probably 17 years or so. My day job is I am a plant health products sales rep for the 13 western states of the United States. So I travel a lot for work. So I am joining you today from lovely Reno, Nevada, after day 2 of a trade show here. So thank you for your patience with me getting into the call.
Thanks, Jason. We got a couple of questions here just to kind of throw at you all and whatnot, and then definitely, hopefully, there's some questions you have of us as well that maybe wasn't in the file that we can elaborate on or whatever, but can you tell us about any litigation experience, including descriptions of representative cases and outcomes that might apply to our future needs in the city of Canby?
I would love to take that question. So one of the issues that I have been litigating for over 2 years now is short-term rentals. So I don't know if you have been following the coast. Specifically, we represent Lincoln County, and the Lincoln County board there passed an ordinance to essentially regulate through business licensing their short-term rentals, which, as you can imagine, some people were upset by, specifically the people who own and operate short-term rentals, in part because the regulations were intended to sort of curtail the short-term rentals. The Lincoln County, and this is all public information, I'm not divulging any confidences here. The county essentially went from, this is unincorporated Lincoln County, so went from a population that was very small, essentially weekend visitors, at houses for, maybe 2 weekends per month, to full capacity 6 days out of the week, generally. And the infrastructure, the sewer system, the roads, just the whole infrastructure is not set up for that. So the county board responded, passing ordinance to reduce the number of short-term rentals through business licensing. We have been in litigation. There has been, I don't even know how many LUBA cases. So they challenged it on the grounds that they have a protected non-conforming use, because the county operated or regulated through business licensing. We argued that was not the case. We have won at every stage thus far. We now are in the Court of Appeals for one case. I just finished our brief on that. So we're waiting for the other side to brief it. We have one case that has been appealed to the Supreme Court. I don't think they're going to take the appeal. I think it's a pretty straightforward issue. But I would say that is an issue that is affecting a lot of our clients, and about which I think our firm has probably, I've been working with Chris Crane, who is one of our land use attorneys, and he's sort of doing the land use side, and I'm doing the non-land use issues. And I think probably we have the most experience and expertise litigating short-term rental issues in Oregon of anyone that on the government side anyway, that I'm aware of.
No, definitely a hot button topic for not just the coast, but I would think like Central Oregon and along that stretch there as well. I had an interesting conversation today with one of the state representatives about just rentals in general and how that's the buy and hold and not rent piece has become very prevalent across the country, but here in Oregon. And so that'll be an interesting piece to watch as that tries to get, I guess, tightened up. I think they're looking at that in the next session here. So, great, thank you. Based on your explanations and kind of resume breakdown, you have, experience reviewing contracts and ordinances and resolutions and things like that, so that's not a problem. Can you tell us about experiences you've had giving advice during the course of city council and planning commission meetings?
That's something we all do routinely. I guess me mostly for planning commission meetings rather than these folks. Have you ever gone to a planning commission meeting?
I have never had the pleasure.
I hope you don't have to.
Try me once.
I think it varies from client to client, just going off on that planning commission piece a little bit more, how much they want to have an attorney at a planning commission hearing. Most often it's when there's a hotly contested issue, they're expecting some sort of procedural issue to come up, or when either the developer or opponent or both has an attorney, and it's helpful to have, a city attorney there as well. Most of the time, though, the planning commission, for most of our clients, I think, operate fairly independently because there is typically a local appeal to the city council that gives you another bite at the apple to fix any issues that came up during the planning commission meeting. Giving advice during the course of a meeting, I think, was kind of the gist of your question there. And that's always a challenging thing to do because it's public and you want to keep attorney-client privilege protected as much as possible. It's also often a issue that comes up during the course of the meeting, and it's difficult to give legal advice on the fly on something that just came up and make sure that you're giving the best possible legal advice. So if it's a really thorny issue that comes up in that sort of situation, I'll often suggest that we take a recess so I can talk to the mayor one-on-one or the planning commission chair one-on-one about how to handle something procedurally. If it's something that is anticipated in advance and I'm able to be well prepared to give that advice, then certainly happy to do that carefully. Presenting certain agenda items is something that I do from time to time. I guess I would say if you want a kind of a war story of difficult advice during city council meetings, I was the in-house city attorney in Sherwood when there was a kind of a tumultuous time period for the city. There was a issue related to the YMCA that got a lot of media coverage, ultimately ended up with mayor resigning and 2 other city councilors being recalled, and coincidentally at the same time, completely unrelated, 1 other city councilor resigning. And then we had a series of elections and appointments to fill those vacancies. And so that was an opportunity and a challenge for providing neutral legal advice that oftentimes makes nobody happy. Because one camp or the other always feels like when you're giving the neutral advice that it's cutting against them or cutting against the other side. But just sticking to that philosophy of providing, calling the balls and strikes and being as neutral as possible, get through it.
Has there been anything that you can speak to that maybe is adversarial versus during a planning commission meeting or a city council meeting, and how did you, handle that situation during the meeting? But it does get tense and pushback from either the council or the planning commission. Or even an applicant.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are situations where I've been in where either an applicant's attorney or more often it's an opponent's attorney, in my experience, can get pretty adversarial. And so, they have an opportunity to say their piece. You let them say their piece, and then let the planning commission chair ask if staff wants to respond, and just kind of take it point by point and rebut the arguments that they're making. And try to keep a level head and not get engaged in a tit for tat kind of debate in front of the planning commission. Yeah.
Well, I will say for, I think our city staff and our planning commission, I will speak on their behalf right now. And for us, generally when there are those thorny issues that we think that there might be, we'll say fireworks on a particular issue, I think we do a very good job of letting our attorney know. And even, I think in the past year, I think working with Ashley on a couple of things and even with Mr. Doofman, just letting him know, hey, this could potentially be a thorny issue tonight, so be prepared for that. Sometimes usually it's staff that gives that heads up. Yeah, thorny. Thorny is a good issue. So no, we definitely try to help out on that end in terms of preparation for you all if there's something that's coming up that way you might know in advance what might be coming.
Yeah, and my experience has also been in that context that, what's the expression about an ounce of preparation or whatever. If we're aware that an issue is going to come up and we're able to talk to staff, talk to the planning commission chair in advance, kind of work through all the different permutations of where things could go wrong, and everybody's well prepared to be able to respond, oftentimes it ends up going a lot more smoothly than you anticipated.
That was one of my dad's favorite sayings. An ounce of preparation is worth more than a pound of cure.
There you go.
There you go.
It's one of my dad's favorites.
In the absence of, I guess, main presence at a council meeting or a planning commission meeting, what's the backup on your staff to be able to at least have that attorney presence during those meetings?
So as I mentioned before, we have a primary and a secondary assigned to each city to make sure that there's at least somebody that has that your meeting date held on their calendar. So one of the, logistics we play with is that we find, a hole on somebody's calendar. I believe you guys meet on Wednesdays, right? Today's Wednesday. That actually is a day that most people are available because most of our clients meet on Mondays and Tuesdays. So we always make sure that when you're assigned a primary attorney, that person doesn't have a conflicting meeting on a Wednesday night. So typically that is the person who is available to go to your meetings. But, sometimes people take vacations, sometimes people get sick. And so how our office works is if you need an attorney there and it's not a matter that you need a subject matter specialist, and the primary attorney is out on vacation, what they do is they look at their secondary, are you available to cover Canby this night? And, hopefully that person is also available. But if not, we have a deep bench. We have 10 attorneys. One is going to be available if you need somebody there. And again, we also have redundancy in terms of subject matter expertise. So let's say that you have to meet on Wednesday and you need a land use person, Josh, as wonderful as he is, isn't the only land use attorney that we have. We have somebody else that can fill in. So I can't think of a situation in my tenure with the firm that a client needed somebody and we weren't able to have somebody at that meeting who was well prepared.
Who is our primary for Canby?
Hello, Emily G.
Yeah, Emily G. And we'll keep it easy for you because it'll be Emily regardless of whether it's your primary or
We have the Emily's.
I'll be your secondary.
It'll be so easy, you'll have to remember
I
one.
can remember those names.
Our email addresses include our last names, so.
We have a situation at our firm now where we have 2 Ashleys, 2 Emilys, and 2 Kristens.
Oh, goodness.
It's-
Okay, so you need to diversify the names. A little bit. Or just give yourselves your own-
Joshes.
your own monikers.
One Josh, one Chad, one Chris.
Yep.
So why does BEH want to continue to work with Canby?
So I can answer that one and then I think we can. So I've been using the phrase that Canby's like a bread and butter type client for BEH. You fit in very well with the rest of the clients that we serve. You're in the metropolitan area, which means that it's easy for us to come to your meetings when you need us, although, with the technology how it is, and I know that David's been zooming into a lot of your meetings, a lot of clients prefer us to zoom in and really we can be anywhere. But your population is about 20,000. You offer the same, array of services as most of our clients do. And for us, we're able to bring a lot to the city of Canby because of all the other cities that we serve that have really similar needs. So we are general counsel to, I believe, 26 cities in Oregon right now. We also general counsel to 16 other entities, so special districts, counties, other types of local governments. And then we have 40 additional clients that we are, special projects to. For instance, we've been doing your URA since 2014. You would have previously been counted as one of those. So the issues that you face are generally the issues that our other clients are facing as well. Some issues are specific to Canby, but the larger systematic issues that you're looking at, your growth, you're in the metropolitan area, what to do about housing. I know that some economic development issues, particular to tourism, are of importance to the city of Canby. Those are issues that we have a lot of experience working with similar clients. And also, to be frank, we talked to David earlier today because I know that he's been fielding a lot of, he has been your primary contact, and he had wonderful things to say. What he said is that it's a very high-functioning city. They offer great services. The council's been great to work with. And I think the rest of us are like, sign us up. That's, that sounds like a great client for us to work with. So, and
I'm particularly excited about this because the thing I like most about being a municipal lawyer is that the work that I do for you guys, the things I help you guys with, I get to see the effects in the community. And that's so cool. It's not like my work is being thought out in courtrooms where no one ever is going to see it, just the two parties. The things we do have impacts that are very important to the public within this community. Canby specifically, I really like. Full disclosure, my parents live here. And they've lived here for the past 3 years and they adore it. So I've spent a lot of time in the community here, seeing all your cool parks, walking along the river, going out to the restaurants, and I really enjoy this community. So for me, it means I get to do the work as a municipal lawyer in a place that I already have some ties to and I've enjoyed my time in. So I'm particularly thrilled to have this opportunity.
Great. Thank you. I mean, just perfect segue to questions from you all.
Okay,
I've been asking them all.
You did mention that you are the representation for our urban renewal agency since 2014, and we are actually looking to sunset that whole program, but we have another couple of years left. So in that, is there someone else that would be the point person for the URA versus being our city attorney? Because we wear different hats, so I guess in my view, you should wear different hats too.
I'll say that most cities have the same attorney representing both the URA and the city. Many of our clients do. When I was in-house, both in Coos County and Sherwood, it was the same attorney.
Okay.
It's actually pretty uncommon to have.
Because you didn't
separate
represent
attorneys.
both until we
did
brought
not.
you on
And
recently.
I don't know the history of that. It's well before my time. Why you asked for a separate attorney for URA could just been because it's specific legal issues that were more.
my understanding of this history is just, URA is a subspecialty, and perhaps whoever you're working with at the time didn't feel comfortable doing that, and so they brought in BH. And we have a number of clients, like we're the attorney for the Tillamook Renewal Agency for the city of Tillamook, but we're not their city attorney. But Josh is absolutely right. Most of the time we wear both hats and change them just like, you guys all do.
Okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
Jason, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Gentlemen?
Took him longer to unmute than.
So a little bit more background, Emily, from you.
Yeah, of
What law
course.
school did you go to? How long have you been an attorney? And what other cities have you had
That
the
I worked with?
opportunity to serve in?
Yeah, so I went to Lewis and Clark Law School from 2018 to 2021. I've had my license since the fall of 21, so I'm on 3 years now. I've been at BH for almost a year, but prior to that, I worked for a firm called the Local Government Law Group. It's in Eugene, and it does the same thing that BH does, only local governments, no private clients in the same capacity as BH. So I hit the ground running as a municipal lawyer down there, and I'm continuing my career up here, which is wonderful, much closer to family. Other cities that I have worked for, I work for the city of Fairview quite frequently. I work for the city of Warrenton. I jump in to assist cities on special employment or labor type projects. So my specialty is really labor law. So interactions with unions, collective bargaining, answering employment related questions and that sort of thing. Yeah, does that answer your question? Okay.
Daniel?
A couple questions. First question is, can you tell us about with respect to all confidentialities that you have, a sticky situation you got a city out of?
And Ashley, you can't speak about us.
I mean, we're not out of it yet, but I can't tell you about a sticky situation that currently we're working our way out of. So I'm the primary attorney for the City of Sandy, and City of Sandy has some really monumental wastewater issues that they're facing. They had, I'll tell you that the story according to EPA and DEQ is upwards of 2,000 violations of their NPDES permit over a period of years, resulted in enforcement action from DEQ, and it was to the point where, which is very rare, they escalated it to EPA to have EPA enforce it. EPA stepped in and we negotiated with them through a federal court what's called a consent decree, which is essentially a judicial order and settlement agreement, which we entered into, it's about 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago. They have, as a result of that consent decree and those violations, had to put a development moratorium in place that has essentially stopped all development in the city for, I think we're at about 18 months now, and realistically into the foreseeable future. And they're looking at researching the infrastructure changes that will be necessary to get out of that situation. And as you can imagine, that's quite a high price tag to be able to do that. And so navigating the enforcement action from EPA and DEQ at the same time as also trying to navigate the land use challenges with their moratorium and a number of developers who received land use approval, but then weren't able to actually move forward with those developments. It's been kind of coming at the city from all different angles. And of course, everyone at the city now is committed to doing the right thing, getting out of it. But there's a lot of blame coming from a lot of directions. How do we get in this situation? It's a PR nightmare as well. And of course, there's also a component of this that is lobbying the state legislature for financial assistance, for potential lobbying of state agencies for regulatory relief. So that's the big sticky situation that I've been dealing with basically since I came to VEH, and will be dealing with for years to come.
I would love to tell you about a sticky situation that I helped with, if I may. Again, this is all public. I am one of the firm's litigation attorneys, so it's also litigation. The city of Seaside was having trouble with one of its hotels paying the transient lodging tax. And they ended up behind, I'll tell you, it's public, like I said, Shiloh Inn. I don't know if you've read about the problems that Shiloh Inn has been having. So they were over $100,000 behind in transient lodging taxes, and well above that with penalties and interest. They went into receivership. It's a long story. I will not bore you with that. We filed basically a claim saying that the transient lodging taxes shouldn't be included in the receivership. They were separate. They were held in trust. They never had a right to them. So as a result, they shouldn't be in the receivership. We initially put in for just the amount of the taxes that had been past due, not the penalties and interest. And long story short, through the process, working with the receivership attorney, we ended up getting we got more than double what we initially claimed. We got all of the penalties, all of the interest, and all of the past due taxes paid, which was a huge success, and I feel like really got the city out of a sticky situation, and with a really great result. So that's another thing.
Yes, Chief Davis. Sorry, Councilor Davis. Chief Councilor.
Chief Counselor.
So what experience have you had litigating the houseless or the homeless? issues?
So I don't think we have any litigation.
I think Portland's the only one that's had to litigate it.
I think Ben's had a couple.
Oh, Bend, yeah, right.
And Grants Pass. Of course.
And have you had the opportunity, I know David did, but the opportunity to review our ordinance at all?
So
Your camping ordinance?
Yeah.
I haven't reviewed
Not
your
specifically.
camping ordinance. We've worked on for basically every one of our clients, we've worked on camping ordinances.
yes.
And then follow-up question, who would be the representative for urban renewal from your firm?
It would probably be one of our experts on urban renewal. So Chad Jacobs, Heather Barton, and Chris Green, I believe, are the ones that do the most urban renewal work for our firm, just because their specialties are more tailored to urban renewal. I haven't heard of much work being done right now with the urban renewal. I don't believe that the city has sought much legal advice in the last couple of years. But I would assume that if one of those questions came in, it would probably go to one of those individuals.
I also do a fair amount of urban renewal. There's a lot of overlap with land use, economic development. And I understand you're looking at closing down your urban renewal agency in the next few years. I've done that before as well.
Okay.
Injunction.
Counselor Sassy, anything?
No, I'm good. I like the fact that they have a specialty in every area. It's nice to meet you guys, so I can put a face. I'm not a big Zoom guy. Emily G., now that you're in Oregon City, maybe you can come. I said last council meeting, it'd be nice for you to come in person once or twice a year. That'd be nice
Absolutely.
once in a while, so.
I
since she's
view coming
local.
out as like a field trip.
Yeah.
Gets me out of the office, gets me away from
See
the
your
computer
parents.
screen. I know.
If they feed you, then you can come to the meetings too. Yeah.
If I could prevail upon them for that, yes, I would.
You
So,
said there's
no,
an opportunity for us to ask questions. Is that your preference? Is that you prefer Zoom, or you prefer somebody in person? Are you figuring out the transition?
I think it's been fine. It's just nice to see a person once in a while.
I personally would rather, I mean, I don't mind Zoom. It doesn't bother me, but if I have a preference, I'd rather have somebody here. I just think that I work with a lot of attorneys myself, and having somebody in the same room, there's a different feel to it. And I know with Zoom, it may not be might not be as practical, but if there is an option, I'd like somebody in person.
Thank you. Yes, Counselor Patton.
For me, I would say that if having you join us regularly in the council chamber in person is going to drive the price up more, I am no problem with Zoom.
Well, and that's kind of my view is that I genuinely agree with Scott and with Daniel, having you here personally. Sometimes it is nice, maybe on those things when we know there's something thorny coming,
Yeah.
maybe something like that. But I do enjoy having the Zoom option to save that travel cost, so.
Absolutely, and it would be up to your preference.
Yeah. But to piggyback on Councilor Davis's question about the camping ordinance, not really a question, just more of a, if we do continue with you, I would like you to look at it, because after we get done with the LOC conference, when they're going to be doing a talk about the Grants Pass decision, it has been my hope for a long time, but I've been waiting until we have that information and learn a little bit more from other cities, what they're doing. I want to crack that back open, because I don't think we have it as tight as I would like to see it. So I would just say, hey, little hint, maybe take a little read of it.
So what year did you pass your camping ordinance?
Be 2?
Yeah,
It's been about a year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I mean, we would more than love to do that. Our firm did a ton of work on House Bill 3115. Chad Jacobs, who has been a partner at our firm for a while, did a lot of work with the legislature on that. They put together a work group of, all the interested parties, local government attorneys for like homeless individuals, all came together and worked on that. And I think really moved that legislation in a more positive direction. And then Emily in our firm was in charge of just how we address these issues, is that's one of the issues that addresses all of our clients. How they choose to handle it is different, but the legal issues are the same. And so, typically we analyze, the options for our clients, and then we have somebody within our firm who becomes, the predominant expert in that subject matter and develops sort of the model ordinance that we work off of. And Emily did that for our, almost our camping regulations for the firm. So I think we'd love to do that.
Yeah, so Chad and I worked on, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 different camping ordinances. And like Ashley said, while the legal issues are the same, the way people and different communities address the homelessness issue is much different. So while we can sort of provide advice on what what certainly would not be legal, the ways people sort of address the issue is very different. And I guess that's one thing I wanted to add is that it came up a little earlier when you were talking about adversarial situations. I think the way we approach our role is to give you legal advice on risks, and then ultimately you are the decision makers. You decide the policy based on our advice on the risks. So that's very much how we approach the camping issue, right? Like you said, there's a lot of unknowns, and even now, even still, there are a lot of unknowns. Like Josh said, there has not been very much litigation on the issue, so we sort of try and give you advice. Like I said, well, you definitely can't do that, right? This is definitely unconstitutional, but like, what can you do, and where is that line? It's a big line right now, so like, we sort of give you the advice, and then you all make the policy decisions, and we very much view that as our role. We don't advocate for positions. We leave that to you. So yeah.
Yes, Councilor Stearns.
Has your firm ever had to withdraw due to a conflict of interest or not being able to handle the subject matter? And if that's the case, what are the contingency plans should that happen?
I think we're very careful about conflicts of interest. We really, compared to most firms, are able to dramatically minimize those by only representing local governments, right? A lot of firms represent both private clients and local governments, and the opportunity for conflicts there is, exponentially higher. But when we do get into a situation where there is potentially a conflict, so it more often would be between like a special district and a city, or potentially there's an IGA being negotiated between two cities that are our clients. In some of those situations, we're able to work with both clients and figure out that there actually isn't an adverse position and there isn't a insurmountable conflict there, and we're able to represent both through informed consent. In other cases, we aren't able to do that, and we'll generally help you find somebody else who's able to represent you in those situations, but they are rare. And there are a few very niche subject matters that our clients encounter from time to time that we're not able to assist with, or where somebody else we think can better and more efficiently and effectively assist you, such as like telecom issues, for example.
Bond counsel.
Bond counsel, we can't do that, right? So those types of things will help you find somebody.
My last question for you all, and then I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask us any questions. I guess the last question I have is, what do you expect from us? I guess as the City of Canby and us as the City Council.
To use us. I'm sorry if that's like a little, it's axiomatic, to use us when you need help, and to feel comfortable identifying situations where you would benefit from an analysis of the legal risks, obligations, duties to help you make whatever policy question is in front of you. That's my answer. Yeah. And then, communicate effectively and that sort of thing, but just really know that we're an asset for your use.
I would say to continue, exactly agree with Emily, and to continue to do what you've been doing for the last year. I mean, it has been, from our perspective, very smooth. Most of the communication goes through Eileen. I believe Eileen and David have a standing meeting, is it every week? I see it on the calendar. And I think one of the things that Emily really hit on is, it's your choice, like how much you engage your outside legal counsel. Our preference is prevention, is, an issue is coming up, let's get some legal advice. ahead of it so we can prepare for those thorny meetings. I think Josh answered the question really well, so I didn't need to jump in. But in terms of, how you deal with giving legal advice in an open public meeting is that you try to avoid it. You try to anticipate the meetings or issues ahead of time. You try to provide the advice ahead of time. You try to do all that prep. So, from your legal team's perspective, that's our preference. But there's always going to be things that come up, like during a meeting that can't be anticipated. So I think from our perspective, like, things have been going well for the last year, and to continue the relationship exactly how it has been.
Okay, great. What questions do you have for us?
We started talking about the homelessness ordinance. I have that written down. What other big issues or big topics do you see in front of Canby?
Recreational immunity.
Recreation unit.
Yeah,
So Emily actually wrote one of
I
the
know,
model.
I was about to say it and your voice came out.
Emily, when you were an intern at the City of.
Oh, yeah. I interned for the City of Bend when I was in law school, and, it was one of their law school intern projects. They had me draft a recreational immunity ordinance, and that has chased me around. That was 4 years ago, and that has chased me around ever since then because it got promulgated as an example for other communities to use, and so.
I believe
yes.
what the City of Bend said is that we had a wonderful intern a few years ago who drafted a great ordinance, which honestly is what everybody has been using.
Yeah, so, got that down. What else is out there? Not to put you on the spot, but.
I think the land use, we're in the middle of our comp plan, planning and looking at that, and that is going to include a urban growth boundary expansion. And I know that that's been touch and go for a couple of different cities and counties over the last year or so. So I'm anticipating that it very much could be one of those thorny issues that we have to deal with as that's coming up. So I think that's one. Counselor Patton, you have one or two?
Yeah, so I would say ones for me, I don't see the camping ordinance, I don't see the homeless problem in Canby being rising to the top. The ones that rise to the top for me are around land use, specifically now that our comp plan is coming to, comp plan redo is coming to an end, and we're gonna do the urban growth boundary expansion. One of the things that the council has been talking about doing for quite some time is updating our city codes, doing a pretty thorough update of them. And so I see that being really top of mind when it comes to getting legal advice on how those should be updated, modernized, and really try to combat some of the things that are coming through with updated land use within the city. Another thing that now that you've done work with us for a while is we are going through a rebuilding period with city staff and management here, and that continues to be a thing. And so there are hot spots that flare up every once in a while, and making sure that we're navigating those properly. Those are some of the ones that are top of mind for me.
Any others? Yes, Eileen.
We're going into labor negotiations with both our unions.
I saw that your contracts are up, next year.
So would we be using this firm for labor negotiations as well?
If you'd like to, and I'm very happy to do it. Sometimes clients bargain themselves directly, and then I would hang out in the background to handle any questions that come up, or if bargaining's not going great and it looks like we're moving into mediation or further, then I would come in. Or I can do the bargaining directly. It would be your preference.
I haven't been through collective bargaining here yet either.
Got it.
So it would be just,
And both are open at the same time, correct?
The only other thing I could think of is we've had recent conversations about projects that we have on our wish list, and would require some land acquisition. So real estate help would be good as well.
Is one of those the recreational like soccer facility? 'Cause I was reading about that today.
That, and we also, it wouldn't be an acquisition for us, Probably not, I don't want it to be. Anyway, we're also trying to do a hotel project, so there'll probably be some contracts in that we need to look at. Someday, I hope.
Well, we do have real estate experts, real property law experts, and I would say I'm the soccer expert of our fund, so I would be excited about
Chris
that.
and Chad might argue with you.
I play soccer, but also I sat on the Northwest United Women's Soccer Board for 5 years. I saw you're working with OASA. I was also, or is that right? OYSA. And I was on the board for OASA, the Oregon Adult Soccer Association, for a brief stint. So that is something that's very interesting to me and that I was really excited about learning about in
Right.
Canby.
Where did you play soccer at?
Well, I played at Lincoln High School in Portland. I did not play in college, but I still play. I play now. I play futsal, I play outdoor soccer. Yeah, I love it.
You're an advocate.
Yeah, totally. I'll have to take off my hat. Yeah.
You have to take that down. I'll come up
Neutral.
In my like plain clothes to the meeting.
just cheer inside.
Okay, what else can we answer for you?
You know, Ashley mentioned that, and I talked a little bit about how I've been in-house counsel and now I'm outside counsel. You all have been through that transition recently. Interested to hear kind of your thoughts now that you've had outside counsel for a while on what you think, what makes for a successful outside city attorney relationship from your perspective?
That's a really great question, Josh.
Communication.
Eileen, I mean, do you have initial thoughts on that?
Well, one of the things that I've heard the council say is, having that deep bench. And having not, we're actually saving money by having this contract because we're using our legal counsel entirely for legal work. And we had a little bit of a kind of a conflict, if you will, before because the city attorney was also the assistant city administrator, which just was a weird reporting relationship as well because the city attorney, he reported to the city council, but as assistant city administrator, he reported to the city administrator. So that was just weird.
It's not
and
recommended.
we're getting good advice and not paying as much. So,
Yeah, thanks, Eileen. I think the piece that, I think there's been a lot of just different opinions here on the council about, the fact of having an in-house one makes it convenient just to, either for staff to walk down the hall and ask a quick question or for us to schedule a meeting and get our questions asked or to, what if this happened and we did this and that kind of thing. So I think initially we went to kind of I don't want to say a communication blackout, but it definitely all went through Eileen from a staff perspective because we didn't know what that cost was going to look like. And I think that it's kind of loosened a little bit, at least with the council. I know that a number of the councilors have been very in direct communication with David on a number of things and whatnot, and vice versa. But for me, my opinion, I think it's been really great on any of the issues that we've had. So I work with Ashley and then also with David on a number of things. I mean, communication has been great. Follow-up has been excellent. The level of detail, I think you hit on, Emily, about we're going to present what the law is and, here's, doors A, B, and C. And if you do, these things, these are the smaller doors that might have to be opened up after that. But, so, and I think the legal team aspect is huge, having that depth. Because I think when our last city attorney was really good on the litigation side, but did not have a lot of land use history. That's why we went out and partnered with BEH to have the land use attorney side of it, because that was just not an area that they were particularly strong in when they first started and got stronger over the years. So I I think it's been good, and so when we do have questions, it's much more streamlined and to the point. So I think that's a benefit to you all as well. There's less of that chit chat, so to speak. So I'll go to Counselor Patton and then I'll come to Counselor Davis.
Yeah, I think for my part, it's no secret that I was very much into having on-staff city attorney. I will say that I have been extremely pleased with the service that we've gotten, and I think we're getting good value for our money. I will still stick to that. If at some point in time, the cost of having outside legal service begins to become more costly than having it in-house legal services, I will start to question that. And I still to this day think that there might be some questions that city staff and those folks might have that would be good to have a legal eye on, that might not be getting up through the cracks, not because there's a gatekeeper that's doing it, but just because that person isn't down the hall. That has not come back to bite the city at this point in time, which is great. But if it does, then that would be another factor in my consideration of how we're doing this.
Counselor Davis?
First of all, I really appreciate David and his involvement with the city council. He was excellent, and Ashley has done a good job for us as well, and I appreciate the work you've done, Ashley. But moving forward too is, don't be afraid at all to tell us we're wrong. Okay, because don't try to find answers to make us right, but if you really feel we're headed down the wrong path, don't be afraid to say so. And then also,
I've seen us do it.
and then also collaborating, perhaps, if there's a different attorney representing a different issue, that you collaborate with those attorneys to try to come to some common ground too, without having to take it on to litigation, because that just costs money.
Yes, Counselor Stearns, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, yeah, just one more comment I was having, kind of response to Councilor Patton, and I, having some similar, firm where I charge by the hour for people, and people naturally are worried always that, is my bill gonna go up forever, or not? And what I would just suggest is kind of what I do is sort of tell people, hey, this is gonna cost a lot before you actually do the law. So when people have a heads up and say, if I tell people, hey, this is gonna cost more because X, Y, and Z, they're usually okay with it. What they're not okay with is, surprise, here's your big bill. And so maybe I just request that if you see costs, something that might drive costs up, that give us a council a heads up so we can say, well, is it necessary or not?
What you're asking us is going to cost this many hours. Do you really want us to do
Because you guys
that?
know kind of about what things cost, and if it goes over, you could say, oh, this is gonna go way double what we originally thought. So kind of get that break that you have to let people have approval before costs go up.
You guys have a really seasoned city administrator too, and I feel like a lot of times, Eileen can answer a lot of your questions. Like, she's been a city administrator for many, many years, and also be able to give you an idea of, okay, so we're gonna do this charter review, and, here's how many meetings, and, actually even give you an idea of what those costly things are going to be before we even go down that path. But certainly, we can have direct communication about that as well.
Right. What else can we answer for you?
I think you answered a lot of it, yeah.
I think we have fewer questions coming into this because we have a pre-existing relationship than we do with other cities. Yeah.
Yeah, already knew what you were getting into, so, yeah.
And we know you have another meeting coming in. I always get so anxious about time.
It's dark, they wanna go home.
Yeah.
This was shorter too for the
Yeah.
same reason.
Well, thank you for coming out and being here this evening, and we really do appreciate you tonight and all the work that you have all done for our city here this past year, so thank you very much. And yeah, we'll be discussing next steps and whatnot and let you know when we know.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice to meet you.
Recording stopped.
Good evening, Canby. Welcome to a special called work session. It's the City Council with the Park and Rec Advisory Board, and we are here to discuss the introduction of a pedal park piece, some capital improvement aspects, and then also the aquatic building remodel and getting an update on that. Before we dive into that, I think we should do quick introductions because I think not everyone knows everyone. So we'll start down there with Eric and just who you are, your position, and your favorite color.
Eric Lightson, aquatic manager, and blue, color of water.
Water, yeah.
Ryan Potter, planning manager, and I'm also the liaison to the Parks Board, and my favorite color is also blue.
Eileen Stein, city administrator, and my favorite color is yellow for the sun.
Jim Simnett, Parks and Rec Advisory Board, green color plants.
Scott Sassy, city councilor, green also, plants.
Dan Stern, city councilor, green for color of money, I think.
Jim Davis, city councilor, and it's not working. And park liaison to the Park and Rec, and crimson and gray. Go Cougs.
Oh, boy. Mayor Brian Hodson and orange for, because it's orange.
You can say the Browns.
I'm trying
God-
not to say.
God bless.
I know, a long-suffering fan.
All right. Tracy Hensley, City Council President, and purple, and has nothing to do with the Huskies, Mrs. Hodson.
Oh, that's good.
Ryan Oliver, Park and Rec Board, green and yellow, go Ducks.
Go Ducks.
Doug Reichen, Parks and Rec, clear.
Clear's not a color.
That's good, Doug, I like that.
Terry Jones, Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and Team Green. Carol Hawkins, Parks and Rec, and Paul White. Lightweight.
Okay.
David Biscar, Park and Rec Board, orange and black, go Beavs.
Barry Johnson, chairman, Parks and Rec Board, Detroit Tiger blue.
That doesn't look blue. It looks a little faded.
Guardians.
Jerry Nelson, Canby Public Works Director, blue.
Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome. Tiger too.
James Siegel, Director of Economic Development, gray is my favorite.
Online, Mr. Patton?
My name is Jason Patton. I'm one of the members of City Council, and favorite color is blue.
Mr. Doofman?
Good evening. Interim City Attorney David Doofman, and I'm just going to keep it all going here. Blue.
Okay. Maddie, I don't know if you're connected and can hear us, but since you're part of this powwow.
Yes, Maddie Person with American Ramp Company, and I will go with purple.
Okay.
Go purple.
Well, welcome, everybody. We got quite a bit of information to go over and talk about this evening, and so.
Maya.
I'm sorry.
She thinks she's getting away with it.
Maya.
Maya Benham, Administrative Director and City Recorder, and my favorite color is pink.
Okay. Thanks for catching that.
I wasn't going to let her off the hook.
Well, I know how much she loves when the council does that to her. So yes, so I'm glad we're having a meeting to just kind of revisit on a couple of things. I know the first item is the pedal park discussion, and that's a relatively new item and new piece of the puzzle, or at least an idea to be talking about. And we'll dive into that, but also going through the capital improvement plan and what needs to be changed or updated or moved around. I'd also like to maybe hit on some of the successes that we've gotten accomplished in the past year, which I know sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle of conversation when we think there's been nothing, but there's been actually quite a bit. And then getting into the aquatic center, because it is a building in need of, again, lots of love. And we also need to, I think, as a group, discuss the direction of what we want to see or what could be coming down the road for a building that is well past a well-used age. So I'll leave it with that. Eileen, did you want to take it from there?
Happy to. So a number of you attended a tour of the City of Sandy's Pedal Park. So we're here to make a presentation. Jerry, do you want to say anything, or are we going to turn it right over to Maddie?
I think we could turn it right over to Maddie.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, Maddie, can you hear us?
I can, yes.
You ready to start in on your presentation?
Great. Do you want me to share my screen, or do you guys have the file?
I think if you could share it.
If you want to share, or I can go ahead and pull it up for you. It's probably easiest if you want to pull it up if you can, because then you can move forward on your slides.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. I apologize, I'm joining from Nashville tonight. So, yes, working in a temporary setup, but okay, here we go. Okay, can you guys see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so like I said, my name's Maddie, and I'm with American Ramp Company. So we design and build action sports facilities. So that's anything from skate parks, bike parks, and pump tracks. And as mentioned, the project over in Sandy, Oregon, that is a facility that American Ramp Company designed, and we are currently on site finishing construction. So I just put together a quick presentation just to kind of show some examples of what American Ramp Company does. So like I mentioned, skate parks, bike parks, pump tracks. Here's just some photos to kind of give you guys an idea of what that means. So top left photo is skate park, top right, pump track, bottom right would be an above ground skate park, middle photo is a dirt surface bike park, and then bottom left would be an asphalt surface bike park. And then I thought I'd just start off with some warm fuzzies, just show some great photos from parks we've completed, the community using those parks. So you'll see here, you've got kids on scooters, kids on bikes, rollerblades, adaptive use, skateboarders. So just really want to let you guys know that ARC, our goal is to build parks that entire communities can use. We're not interested in trying to build the gnarliest park that only the most seasoned skateboarders or bikers can come use. We want to create facilities that anybody can come to. We don't want kids to be scared to try out a new hobby. We want families to feel safe. And so that would be our plan with your guys' park, and that's what we're doing over in Sandy. Okay, so I'm just gonna give a quick overview, kind of what we're doing in Sandy, how that project came together, and then please just stop me anywhere in this presentation if you have questions, and we can kind of get into the details. So I thought it'd be great just to kind of show a top view of the Sandy site, and I have some notes here, just to kind of help us envision how big is their park, how does that translate to Canby. So their park is roughly 8 acres, and you can kind of see I drew the boundary of that park facility that they were working with. At that existing park was a concrete skate park, which was roughly 10,000 square foot. And then you'll see it was an old school site. So the top elevation of the park was just some open field, the skate park, and then they had a slight elevation drop, and then it was the old track and football field. So just kind of help you guys orient, see what they were working with, and then we'll just keep moving right through. So back in 2022, the very first thing I did for the City of Sandy was go out there in person and meet with the Parks and Rec Director, which is Rochelle. And I also met with one of their city council members, Kathleen Walker. And at the time, the city was only interested in exploring an asphalt pump track option. So like I said, we walked the site. I got some photos of where they wanted this pump track to be, kind of in that goalpost area. And while I was there, I got to see the skate park firsthand, and we realized it really wasn't in rough shape. It was probably 15 to 20 years old. The style of skating had changed. The concrete was falling apart. The coping was sinking into the concrete. And so we started having discussions about, hey, if we're gonna do this action sports park and we're gonna do a pump track, why not look at redoing the skate park as well and really bringing that facility kind of up to today's standards and hitting those different styles of skateboarding that's popular today. So after that site walk, we did enter into concept designs with the city. And here's just a photo. These aren't specific to Sandy, but I just want you guys to get an idea of what takes place during those concept designs. So we can do community engagement, which could be in person or online. So you'll kind of see that top left, bottom right photo are both our community engagement sessions. One is more bike focused, one is skate focused. And then at the end of the whole design process, we will give you guys 3D concepts. So I just want to show how realistic these concepts look. So you can see there's 2 3D options shown, and then right next to those photos is the completed project. So they're pretty identical. It gives you guys a really great sense of what is this facility going to look like at our specific location. And so a couple weeks ago, I did talk to some folks at the city, and I sent over our concept design services packet. So for us to do concept designs of a park similar to Sandy, we would be just under $50,000. And that would include virtual engagement meetings, and then those concept designs, kind of like I shared. And this whole process, I would say about 4 to 6 months from start to finish. It can go quicker or longer, right, depending on how much engagement we do, how quick the review process goes. But this just gives you guys kind of a good starting off point if we were, like I said, to do something similar to Sandy and about how long that would take. And I'll just pause here and see, Barry, if you have questions or if anybody else has any questions.
No, I don't have any, Maddie.
I do. Okay. Hi, Maddie, this is Jerry. 50,000, is that to get us ready? What would that get us to if it's under or $49,000 for design?
Mm-hmm.
What would that, is that getting us ready to go out to bid?
Yeah, so it would not be construction documents. Yeah. So this would be probably closer to like a 20 or 30% design. Okay. So it's going to be high level, kind of 2D top view, and then a really nice 3D rendering. But it does not go into kind of those traditional CD details about, drainage plan, grading plan, demo plan. That would not be included in this concept. This is just high level, great for your community to see what the park is going to look like, a quote from us to build it. And then also these are really great designs that can be used if you're going to seek grant funding or fundraising.
Okay, and then I think we talked, it was like 200 or 220 for 100%, something like that.
Yeah, that'd be correct. Probably like around 150 to do stamped CDs for a park of this size.
What is the time?
In addition to the concept, so an additional 150.
I just have one more question, and I'll let you get going. But so to get from the 50 to the 100 or the 20-30% design to 100%, what's the time frame on that?
Yeah, so CDs would take, I would estimate another 6 months.
Okay.
For CDs. So you would be looking at probably 9 to 12 months from start to finish for the whole design process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Aren't we 4 acres, Barry? The site?
That over there, I think was 8.
9.
That's 9 down there?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the site?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I did pull this from your guys' site. And this might be conservative. I wasn't accounting for kind of this upper level or the sloped area. Just the red border that I outlined was roughly 4 acres.
Yeah.
Jerry, could you talk a little bit about the site that is proposed? Because we
Yeah,
haven't, that hasn't really been touched on yet.
Yeah, the site that's proposed is below the police station, below our existing skate park. And it's the old Honda pits, they called it the old dump site. And half of it got built, a subdivision, Darcy Estates, and then the rest is open. And so is everyone clear where this is? Okay. Yeah, and so you're coming up with 4.5 with the red around there, Maddie?
That's just what I pulled off of Google.
Okay.
But yeah. So for this project, if we're talking just a skate park, bike park, pump track, 4 acres is plenty of space.
Oh.
And we'll go back up, let's see. So I did pull some sizes here from the Sandy project, just to kind of help us envision how big is their facility. So their skate park is roughly 20,000 square foot. Their pump track is roughly 20,000 square foot. And then their jump line is around 1,200 linear foot. So their whole park is roughly an acre. Theirs is more linear, so it's not a square park, but if you were to kind of drag it out, it would be roughly an acre that facility takes up. And again, their whole site was roughly 8 acres. An acre of that's going towards the action sports facility. You guys have 4 acres. So like I said, plenty of space to do something of that magnitude.
Okay. All right.
And then, so here's kind of that top view photo showing all of the facilities together. Here is a photo of construction at the halfway point. So we're much further along now, but just wanted to give you guys, just kind of help you see the scale of this park. You can see the vehicles kind of next to the bowl. So it is a very large park, and some of you have visited in person, but just want to help us kind of wrap our mind around, you know, really how big this facility is. And that was their goal. They wanted to create a facility that not only would cater towards their community, but could bring in outside users. And they really wanted to capture people who were going to Mount Hood. They want this facility to be a place where people will stop. They'll come visit, they'll come invest money into their local economy by eating at their restaurants, visiting their stores. So that was council's goals with this park. So that's why we made it, you know, a massive regional project. And then here are just some kind of progress photos of each of those elements. So this is the pump track portion. The top left photo kind of just shows after the site had been graded and we just came in and started doing some fine grading. Then you'll see directly below that is actually the DG, the decomposed material that we bring in to build the pump track out of. So you can kind of see the track starting to take shape. And then on the right is the completed pump track with the asphalt laid. So you can just kind of see how that build progresses. And the pump track portion is roughly an 8-week process to build once we get on site. And then again, here are just some photos of the skate park project and the progression of how that was built. So you can see the large photo is, again, that base material, all of the framework before we poured the concrete. And then kind of this bottom right photo is that massive bowl section, which is kind of the last piece we were wrapping up. The skate park is the longest process on this project. So that was the first piece where we mobilized and will be the last piece we're completing. So, you know, that took roughly 6 months to build that concrete skate park, that 20,000 square foot facility. And then finally, we have the asphalt jump line. So again, you can see the top left photo. The site is just dirt. We're just kind of beginning to sculpt that area. The bottom left photo is us placing those prefabricated bike ramps, as well as laying that DG material for the asphalt. And then the large photo on the right is the completed jump line with the asphalt. So just really great progression photos. You can see those rocks there. That's where the French drains are for those outslopes on the jump line. And then just kind of the cherry on top, this photo on the right, this was right whenever we kicked off the project, and myself and some of our construction managers went and met with the city, and you can see just how thrilled we all are for the project. And then great news is this park is going to be wrapping up here in a couple weeks, and the official grand opening will be on November 2nd. So I will make sure to forward this invite to you all. I will be there at the grand opening, but it would be great for those of you who had the chance to tour the site kind of mid-construction to go back out and see its grand opening and how the community reacts to that park. And then again, just a quick recap. So the Sandy site, the whole area, roughly 8 acres. They had an existing skate park. After we looked at it, decided to redo that with the new bike elements. And then popping back down to your site, roughly 4 acres. You have an existing skate park that's a little over 10,000 square foot. Again, your guys' skate park is kind of nearing that 15 to 20 year mark, so the end of its lifespan. So it might be a great time to consider updating that skate park facility in addition to the pump track project. So hopefully you guys are seeing all the similarities as the Sandy project. As I was putting this together, it really is a very, very similar project, similar site with the elevation changes with the existing skate park. And also just kind of the same, I met with Barry out at this project, or out at your project site a couple months ago, and I fell in love with your guys' city. It really reminded me of Sandy, kind of that small town feeling, but beautiful, surroundings, a lot of people interested in the area. So I think this could be a great, project for you all. And obviously I'm here to answer any questions that you have, and just try to help make this a reality.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. And one comment, I know that I saw on your handouts, the 4 acres, how you calculated, but we had a master plan done about 3 years ago, and in the master plan, when they went out and studied each of our parks, that particular park, when I said 8 acres, that is what they, I guess, showed. And I guess the only thing is I think it includes a lot of the slope and
Clear up to 3rd Avenue.
Clear up to 3rd Avenue and stuff. So workable space, I believe what you're saying, 4 acres is probably a good figure, but it's somewhere between 4 and 8.
Will that fit parking in it too, the 4 acres? Maddie, was that including, or is that just for the skate park and the pedal park?
Yeah, so your guys is right. An acre is roughly the size that the Sandy project took up. And so, we would just be talking, basically a 1/4 of the area that I have outlined. So there would be plenty of room to do other facilities, to do parking. The action sports element would just be a fraction of the space that I have outlined.
Yes, Councilor Sassy.
So this is just the park. Does it include a new skate park? Since she said we're getting towards the end of it, is that in that $200,000 price?
For engineering?
For engineering.
Correct. Yes, those estimates are based off of the Sandy project. So if you were to do something similar to Sandy, that is how much those design services would cost.
So just design is 200 grand?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's a parking lot going to cost? Ballpark?
I don't know how big we'll need it for that.
Well, I was gonna say, that was my next question. How many cars do we want down there? 20?
That's
You'll probably
that's
need
what
more than
she'll,
that.
that's what we'll have to get figured out, because
And then bathrooms, a shelter.
there is a plus though to all that. All the infrastructure's in.
Yep,
Sewer,
yep.
water, power.
But, I mean.
Yeah, all that.
By the time we get to that 2-bathroom, that log cabin, fancy looking thing will be $100,000.
Yep.
I mean, next thing you know, we're at, what?
Well, the entire project, I mean, you're looking at probably 2.5 million.
Yeah. Wow. Maddie, do you know
City
what,
of
on the,
Canby's worth it, though.
once this gets done, what's the maintenance on this?
Yeah, great question. So maintenance for an asphalt pump track would just be just standard inspection. So your crew would want to walk the park every week, every other week, just to examine it, make sure there's no issues arising. But truly, maintenance will be probably every 5 to 6 years, you would reseal the track, just like an asphalt sealant. And then for a concrete skate park, same. You would just check that every couple of weeks for any cracks, and then you might want to reseal the concrete every couple of years. But they are both meant to be low maintenance facilities. So that's why we recommend the hard surface option. All you would have to do is worry about the landscaping and the mowing. And even then we could propose like artificial turf options to help cut back on that as well.
So could we slurry coat that to kind of help keep that thing up to top?
Yeah, that's the asphalt and pavement's gonna be really low maintenance for
Okay.
us, Counselor Sassy, but it's gonna be all the shrub beds or grass around it to make it look,
Yeah.
whatever the requirements are for planning. It's gonna be work.
I think that's all I have.
Counselor Patton?
Oh, I was unmuted. So I just want to make sure we're taking questions and such now about this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think this is a fantastic idea. This is a part of the city that really could use some development and use. Some of the things that come to mind, questions and thoughts that I will share are, and I agree with Councilor Stassi on this, our skate park is aged and the uses of skate parks have changed, the techniques of skating and such. So I think it would only make sense to include that, at least a review of that, and potentially a redesign and redevelopment of that skate park to include, to sort of knit it in to this pedal park, I think would be advantageous and wise for the city to do. I would ask that, and people might think I'm still crazy for throwing this out there, but you never know. When this is developed, to include the thoughts of a possible connection between Northburg Parkway and 3rd Avenue. It's been talked for years about if that sort of thing is going to happen, it would go through this area. So keeping that in mind to ensure that we don't build a park like this and then at some point in time have to tear part of it out in order to do infrastructure projects such as that. With the age of skate park, yes. Another one is this going to be another one of these sole proprietor projects that we do not go out to bid for? Is that the plan?
If we use this company, yes.
Okay. And then one last thing I'll throw out is there the possibility of including, so there's sort of like urban parks like this, but then another popular ones are the ones that are sort of in the wooded area. I think it's important that we really look at, getting more tree canopy into our city. And so would it be at all possible to include a part of this park that's in kind of a more of a wooded setting where we plant that out and include some like higher elevation things and elements that people can go in so that it's not only just an urban setting, but also gives people the feel of a wooded setting, I think would be super cool. Those are the things that I had jotted down through this process.
Okay, thank you, Jason. What other questions for? Yes.
I have a couple of questions, and I might have missed it. What is the total construction cost?
I think it's under 2.5 million.
2.5 million, and that's,
Maddie, didn't we say 2.2 or something?
Yeah, I would, 2.2 to 2.3 would be just the action sports elements located at the Sandy Park. I'm not positive on what their total park project cost, but just the action sports elements were in that 2.2 to $2.3 million range.
and do you have an estimate on what refurbishing the skate park would cost?
I could get you one. It would be significant. Well, let me clarify. If it was just to come in and maybe patch some of the cracks at your park, that would be doable. But as mentioned, the style of skateboarding has changed. So to bring your skate park up to today's standards, there would need to be significant demolition of certain elements within your park. And once you start getting into that, it really becomes, I think, the best option is just tear the whole thing out and start over versus trying to kind of piece together new with the old. That would be a significant cost, and I think your money would be better spent just building a brand new park that can be custom designed and meet the needs of the current skate industry.
And do you have an estimate of that, of what it might cost to rebuild it?
Yeah, so to do, let's say, a 10,000 square foot skate park, I would budget, anywhere from $700 to $1 million. And that will depend on, how many bowls are in the park versus how much flat ground. Sandy did a 20,000 square foot park, and their skate park was roughly $1.5 million. And that included a very significant bowl section.
Do you know how the city of Sandy is paying for this project? And I can get it other ways if you don't know, but.
Yeah, I can ask Rochelle for a clear breakdown, and I do think it is available online. I believe they had some,
Urban renewal.
I want to say they had sold some property and maybe had some general funds available, and they did use some grant funding. I think that helped for the whole park, not necessarily the action sports element.
And urban renewal.
And urban.
It was a
Correct.
combination of all of that, yep.
Okay.
I think I'm not gonna have that anymore.
Did they, I believe they also completed, they did a master plan for their parks about the same time we did ours. And they completed their SDC methodology, and their SDC methodology, I mean, it increased a lot.
So they used SDCs for it as well.
In part, and right.
And it freed up some other funding for them by their SDC methodology.
Any other questions for Maddie? Okay.
Go and join Nashville, Maddie.
Maddie, thank you. I know, you're in Nashville, so I'm sure you're got busy meetings tomorrow and probably aren't going to do any of the Nashville nightlife.
Unfortunately, I will be driving back to Missouri tomorrow, so.
Oh, well, then there's plenty of time to enjoy it. Well,
Yes, well, hopefully I will see you guys early next month at the grand opening. Like I said, I will make sure Barry has that invite. And I will also be in the Portland area for that. So I would be happy to come back out to Canby, look at the site again, or meet with anybody in person. So I'll be in touch with Barry, but just want want that to be on your guys' radar in case there's anything you need for me when I'm out there here in a couple weeks.
Great. Thank you, Maddie.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Maddie.
So I guess for our conversation, I'd like to hear, I mean, obviously there seems to be some great interest by the Park and Rec Advisory Board on this particular project. Tell me the cons to this project. Why not do it?
Cons?
Yeah, cons, like, why do?
We don't have any, Mayor Hodson, and the chief of police likes it. Sorry to interrupt you, I just wanted to point that out there. That was a benefit. George kind of showed us this.
Okay. Counselor Sassy?
So tell me where this fits in with Auburn Farms, before or after?
We're working on Auburn right now, and we'll be hopefully we'll start construction July 1.
Because the way this thing, I like it, don't get me wrong, but the way this thing's going, Auburn Farms is going to be cheap compared to this.
We've discussed 4 projects in our Parks Board meetings, okay? Well, 3 for sure. I mean.
Barry. Barry. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. This project, the Pedal Park project, obviously Auburn Farms, those people have been promised a park since 2007. So Auburn Farms would be probably number 1. This would be number 2. And I know we have on the Walnut Creek extension, we've talked about, the dog park that we would like to, maybe everybody seems to be, the community would like to see that. So we'd like to complete that as well. So those were the 3 items with some continuing work on Maple Street Park if we need it, as parking lot would indicate. Parking's an issue at Maple.
Okay. Again, just part of the crux of tonight is just, again, I think introducing this particular project for the council. I did go with Jim, Barry, and Jerry out to Sandy to see what was under construction. It's impressive for sure. And I know over the years, a few of the skateboard aficionados have commented about our skate park, not that particular bowl being outdated and kind of reaching its end life, and even having some sort of lights out there would be beneficial for them so that they can use it longer into those summer evenings and whatnot. So I do think that would be one that would, that's a total redo in my opinion.
If I might, ask this question, and this is just a complete curiosity because I'm not a skateboarder, but
No?
You gonna ride the bike?
how much use does the current skate park get?
Probably not as much as when it was not outdated.
Maddie was telling us, when I asked her about it, because I'm not a skater, and she's really up on it, and she said they called it kind of a rite of passage. People had to come do because it's so old and outdated, it's scary. And so it's more of and I wish she was still on here because she explained it better, didn't she, Barry?
Great.
It's like, you got to go do that and then you're cool and you can do this, But,
Oh, geez.
so
if you can survive the Canby skate park, then
The skate park in Canby
I survived,
is infamous, I guess, to the skaters all around.
So you're getting the local kids and then people that want to come and run the Deadly Canby Skate Park or whatever.
The crux of my question is how many people are we spending this money on? Is it 100 people, 500 people?
Well, right now,
200 people?
it probably doesn't attract a whole heck of a lot right now. But you're looking at the future.
So,
you're looking at future and attracting more and bringing more business to the city, building, the one in Sandy is going to be sponsoring, and I don't know if these Red Bull events where you have competitors come in, and they come from, it's also built as a regional site, so there'll be regional events, could be national events.
And is
But
that,
it's
is that
gonna
the
bring
plan
a
for
lot
this? Is that the plan for this project, is to create a magnet for?
It could, yeah, I mean, it could attract that kind of visibility. You know, we'd want to do it right. It's like, you know, we tend to sometimes, it's like the Maple Street Park, when we turfed those fields there, and we've had the 2 softball tournaments, you know, lately. When we did that and did it right, we will be attracting more business to the city of Canby with softball events and baseball events because of those 2 turf fields. Something like this will also attract more visibility to the city of Canby. It will bring more business downtown. It will, you know, it will serve the community well. You know, it's like, you know, I don't want to use the term, you know, if you build it, they will come, but I mean, that's the type of thing. We don't have those kind of draws in Canby right now.
These kind of draws will help fill our hotel.
Well, I'm just curious, like others, like when Sandy's completed and or other similar projects in the neighborhood, what kind of use they get out of it. And then that's just, I'm not saying that as like so much of a criticism of others, I just don't know.
I've had quite a few people ask me, like a neighbor asked me, why don't we have a pedal park like, there's one on 205. Why don't we have a pedal park like, you know, people that ride their bike? And I mean, it's not meant for, you know, adults, it's meant for all ages. I mean, the pedal park, it's for little guys that have the kick bikes that, you know, go, you know, they're looking for places too to ride those that give them a little bit more of a challenge, I guess, instead of just riding down the street. So, I mean, it's for multi-generational. I mean, I don't think that I'll be going down there and flying off ramps and stuff like that and doing flips, but, you know, I will. Jim will. But, and George Troll probably will too, so you know, it's a multi-generational use type thing from little guys on up to adults that still have their bones intact.
What do you think? Councilor Patton?
Oh, yeah, again, I was already unmuted. So, yeah, I agree. I think if we're gonna put the money into this, it would make sense to do something that will, you know, we are starting to talk more and more about our parks and some of these big park projects, driving some sort of economic benefit into the community. And I think, and that's why I brought up the wooded portion of this. I think if we were to make it really good and put that extra money and effort into it, this could be another one of those premier parks for our city to draw people in. I think it's hilarious about the skate park. I can see where they would come from this. And similar to the fact that I love the fact that we still have a like super dangerous merry-go-round in our park, and I hope that it's always there, then if there's a way to keep a portion of our current gnarly skate park where people need to cut their chops and have that blended into a more modern, more risk-adverse version of the skate park, I would be all for that as well. And when it comes to, real quick, when it comes to the use of the skate park, I can say I don't go down to the Canby Police Station or down that street a lot, but most times when I go down there during the day or on the weekends, I see people there. There's a few people there using it. So it is actively getting used. And I suspect that if it was a little less gnarly, it probably would be used a little more often.
Any other park board input on this one?
Okay, well then I guess I'm gonna segue it into the parks capital improvement discussion, and where does this now, sounds like there's a shuffling of the deck here a little bit. And so I'm gonna leave that to you, Barry, like take us through that, you and Jerry.
Well, initially, when we started, we wanted to, well, we were pursuing maybe.
Can we pass these down? We're gonna pass down the parks budget and the current CIP, so you guys can see what we have.
Perfect.
And then we have.
When we started with the same thing, we were talking about.
Can you place the mic on, please?
Oh, yeah. When we started with this, we were talking about maybe putting an amendment or trying to get an amendment to the 24-25 budget cycle to maybe include the pedal park into that plan, because the capital improvement plan, because it isn't there right now. But as we've been talking, we want to put it, we want it included in the 25-26 budget cycle for the capital improvement plan. Is that right? Or did I not say it right?
Well, are you saying that you want to start on this year? Before July 1? But you want to start it in 25-26?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you said it right there. So when you guys look at the,
But as it stands right now, it's not listed on the capital improvement plan, and we need to add it too.
and if you look in the 5-year CIP that we handed out on fiscal year 25 is what our projects are that we can use STC funds this year. And looking at that, near as I can figure, I haven't got exact numbers from our finance director, but you know, after we finish Maple and stuff like that, I think we're around $6 million that we have to spend. And so that's why we need to really look at this CIP.
6 million in SDCs.
And that's plus or minus depending on it. We're not gonna have a lot of SDCs. We're gonna have a few more coming in with the industrial park, I think Ryan or Don Hardy told me, but when Area J starts, we'll have another bunch of STs coming in. We get the Walnut Street built. But if you look at this, we got Auburn Farms on there this year, and it's gonna be double that. You know, so we're gonna, what I think Barry wants to do is if the city council shows, or the Parks Advisory Committee, what Barry was saying that the Parks Advisory Committee is recommending, is that better?
That's better.
Is that we want to go back to the Parks Advisory Committee, revisit the CIP and update it and bring it back in July with this project on it. But we want to make sure council is interested in it.
There's also a possibility, based on discussions maybe had today, that there might be some grant money available if we ask or maybe notify folks that of what our intentions are. Is that, Jim, can I reach out to you on that? Maybe you can.
I don't have anything more than that,
Yeah.
really. But it'd be nice if we could ask for like some state funding to help out with some of this stuff.
The ever elusive state funding.
Yep.
So if you look at the CIP, it's gonna shift stuff out if we do this project. So right now we have it, you know, the projects we have, we put 300,000 in this year to initiate the Waite Park master plan to start looking into redoing Waite Park. And we got the $2.5 million going towards Maple for the lighting, turf, and playground upgrades. This year, Auburn Farms, we underestimated. So we're gonna spend some of that money this year and then get approval. We're gonna get accurate numbers, put it out to bid, and start that project July 1. So that one's gonna be going. The Public Works Fuel Station, we're struggling with that. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, so where's the additional $1 million coming from for Auburn?
What we're doing is, we're gonna budget for the extra $1 million after July 1. We're not gonna start, we're gonna do all the engineering, get it out to bid, get it approved by council like we did Maple Street turf, and then take it July 1, and then if budget is approved by council, we start work.
So then what's coming out of 26 already kind of
We're
game
taking,
plan there? What's being eliminated?
well, that's gonna be the conversation.
Okay.
That's what we have to come up with, and just like, we got $3 million in Wake Park for the following budget cycle that we, in the CIP, it's not budgeted for, it's just something that we've been talking about. But going over this, I went over it with Barry, just all the projects, with this one, and we've talked about this with the Parks Advisory. No, you and I went over this.
Well,
On
yeah,
just,
but it's-
because, you add up.
We've discussed that. Our board.
No, but what I'm saying is we got 20, you add all our projects we want to do up and the master plan and everything else, it's like $24 million. So we got to take what we got after we get Auburn done and we got to decide what projects we want to do. And the Parks Advisory Committee liked this one. So we'll have to have another discussion if maybe weight gets pushed out or something.
See, we've talked about Wake Park for a while. That's a hot button topic for the city of Canby. It's going to generate a ton of conversation. And there's going to be, that's a project that's going to take more than 3 years, probably 4 years. By the time you have community involvement and have these meetings all, put all these meetings, it is going to be a hot button topic because that's basically that's the centerpiece of the city. That does draw them in, but, you're talking about, there'll be tree removal. You're gonna lose trees. The people are gonna be hot. Now, the pedal park is something that we have the land, we own it. We could go ahead and start building that now and get that done and start reaping the benefits of bringing more people into town. Wake Park, we're not gonna be done with that. And I know it's gonna take a long time to finish, and so I thought pushing that, we've talked about pushing that, or not getting that underway right now. That $3 million that's set aside for Wake Park could be used at Auburn Farms or at the pedal park, so.
Councilor Davis, you have a question?
Not a question, more of a comment. First of all, I do want to thank Eileen and the mayor for getting the Park and Rec Committee and the city council together, and I appreciate the comments from the city council as well. And I'm not hearing any objections, from the city council at this point. And that's what the goal of this meeting was just to get it in front of the city council, see what the city council thought of it. And at this point, I think it's premature for us to try to come up with, what is going to be the priorities. That's what the budget process is for, and to present back to the city council. And so my recommendation would be, that the Park and Rec Committee work with Jerry and Public Works and come up with some recommendations, because time's on our side. We've got the budget process. We got time to develop this. And to take in the priorities from the recommendations from the Park and Rec Committee back to the city council, and especially as we get into the budget process too. But I'd like to hear from the Park and Rec Committee what you feel the priorities are, because that's what we have you there for.
No, I agree.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Councilor Patton?
Yeah, so I agree with Jim on that we need to hear back from the Parks Board as far as what those priorities and that reshuffling will be. I will just say that as a city councilor, and hearing from constituents within the city, I do hope that the concept plan regarding the dog park and the sewer dump, which I think is something that's also been talked about for many years of having in the city, going in along with the Maple Street, or the Walnut Street extension. I'm getting my trees messed up. keeping that as a priority as well, I think is going to say a lot for the community and speak toward the needs of the community. So I will just share that as you folks consider the list.
So, thank you, Councilor Patton. I guess what's not talked about then is the recreation complex. Are we mothballing that? Is that falling off the plan list?
That would be it would be
Future
to me,
discussion.
that's future considerations, but I don't see, personally I would say, yeah, it's kind of fallen off the table.
I see that as part of the comprehensive plan update that we're currently in the process of doing, because we have to identify the need for park lands that we need, and for community, and through the summits, people are talking about that. And I think as we go through the comprehensive plan process, we're going to get input back to us as to whether it's a community center or a new aquatic center, and where are we going to get property? How much property do we need for athletic fields and parks and things like that? And I think through the process of the comprehensive plan, we're going to have a lot of those answers.
All right, so, yes, Jerry.
Just to, looking at working with the Parks Advisory Committee on this, just to let you know, the council know, the Auburn Farms, the Pedal Park, and the other projects we got budgeted on this in the next few years fits the budget well. Just by looking at the budgets with the dog park in there, Auburn Farms, Pedal Park, all of that does fit our budget well. That's all I want to say.
So, yes, sir.
Sorry. Thank you, Mayor. But the other part that's addressed in the park master plan is that we address the SDCs, because I think that needs, and I talked to the city administrator about that too, but I think it's important to move forward with the SDCs review as recommended in the master plan, because we've got all these developments that have been going in. And if we need to up the SDCs to be able to fund some of these projects, that to me should be a priority for staff to look at.
All right. So it sounds like, yes.
Middle Park could be 100% SDCs?
Yes. Okay. So it sounds like next steps is Park Advisory Board to sharpen pencils and figure that out and bring back recommendation to the council on that then? That's what I'm hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Patton.
If I could just throw one last thing out, I also don't feel like this is, that these projects should allow the athletic facility and the multi-use facility concept fall off the plate. I think that needs to continue to be kind of on the edge of the plate, so that if the opportunity to acquire the land that's necessary for such a complex comes up, that we don't miss that opportunity. I feel that is something that has put us in the city in the pickle that it's currently in, is that acquisition of land for future projects like this has not really been top of mind, in my opinion, and that needs to change. We have to look towards the future, and the only way to do that is to plan now. As I said, I will also continue to beat this drum regarding the facility in order to make it economically viable for the city. I am currently in Reno, and the show that I'm at is in a multi-use facility. It's set up for conventions, it's set up for concerts. I've sent both Eileen, Councilor Davis, and the mayor a video of the interior of the space, and I think if we really want to talk about making an economic engine within the community, encouraging developers to come in and build hotels and those sort of things, a diversification of the events that we can have in the city are crucial. And that facility is going to help facilitate that.
I agree.
Okay. I think we've got direction and what's coming up on that, regarding that piece. Eileen, did we cover off everything we need to, Ryan?
On those first two items, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, want to move
Great.
into
I
discussion.
will move into the
of,
third piece then,
aquatic
which is the
facility.
aquatic building remodel and update.
So last year when I came to the city council with information about starting to think about doing an update on a remodel for the pool, I was asked to get more updated numbers. Our last numbers were done in 2021. The answer that came back to me is the numbers are pretty good, but it's going to be about 25% increase from what we had before. So that means with our $2 million max that we have saved right now, that we couldn't do all three of the things that we were talking about before. What we were talking about before was doing a remodel of the dressing room, the office area, redo the front entry, and then also do a classroom. So my suggestion would be to take the classroom off the board for now, because it is something that we could do at a later time. It's in a different place on the building. Plus, the possibility of having classroom space across the parking lot in the future is helpful. And so the cost of doing the office area and the entryway is about $1.2 million. And then, soft costs and all that, it's about $300,000, give or take, so about 1.6. And we don't want to spend all the 200,000 because if something else comes up, because our building is so old, there obviously could be surprises along the way. So we want to be ready for those and just any additional costs. And then we have a little teeny project we could add to it is redoing some pipes in the pump room, if we could do that too. So we have looked at all the costs for everything, and that's what it would cost.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate the breakdown and the different options that was sent out to us. I think a big piece with the pool, and I think why Eileen and I looked at this and lumping this into tonight's conversation is we talk about going to a park and recreation aspect to Canby and I guess that of the Park Advisory Board, that the pool is something that could eventually fall under that purview. And so, again, not something that we're necessarily at right now, but as we talk about the future and what is that going to look like in terms of managing a 50-year-old asset? 55-year-old asset and whatnot. So I think it is a matter of, unfortunately, it's based on what I was reading, it's a lot of just antiquated equipment and upgrades that need to happen to even bring it into the 21st century.
Yeah, there's some remodel aspects that bring it into the 21st century, but more important is there are some infrastructure problems such as the plumbing and the wiring and all that that are just not working correctly.
Yeah, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, there's a lot in there.
There's a bunch that's not
that eats
great.
up the project dollars that are all
necessary
pieces, for sure. Yes, Councilor Davis.
Eric, I haven't paid really close attention, but is there a water leak underneath the pool?
Under the pool, we do not believe so. It seems that Public Works took as good a look as they can with the way this pool's set up, and everything looks pretty solid for the pool. So at this time, we would not recommend redoing the pipes and stuff under the pool because it looks like everything is working right, and we don't seem to be losing any water. So we think that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
We TV'd, where it's, sorry. The big problem is where we TV'd all the floor drains, like in the bathrooms. I don't know if it's the chlorine or what, but it's taken all the pipes out.
So those have to be repaired?
Yeah, and that's where maybe you've heard there's leaks under it.
Okay, got it.
It's
Okay.
all the plumbing under the showers and all that.
Yeah.
So how much, with all this work on it, Eric, how much life does this further buy us with the pool?
Who knows? The pool tank's in pretty good shape. It is possible in the future that we would have to replace some of the piping under the pool, but that is something that we can do. But the front of the building is, I mean, it's already past its life. We're just holding it together with duct tape and glue, so almost literally. Yeah, so I think, if we replace the front of the building, we could use the pool for a while, 10, 20 years.
Okay. Counselor Patton, you have a comment, question?
Yeah, so that was actually one of my questions, is the updates that we are talking about doing, you're saying could add potentially 10 more years to the current facility.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
I believe so.
So I guess for me, I've been putting a lot of thought into this whole thing. What with the pool and the adult center there, or what will soon be an open building. I guess for me, my brutal thought is this: that pool is old. It has needed to be replaced 20 years ago. We're past putting lipstick on this pig, and this is nothing against Eric. You and your staff and Public Works have done an amazing job of taking that facility past its prime. So standing ovation to you all for that. But we have been talking and promising the community that we were going to do something about this pool for decades. And I think it's time that we get serious about looking at that. So in my opinion, what I'll throw out is this. We have been talking about we talked the school into selling us that property for some time now. If we are unable to get, in the next year or so, to get the school to agree to sell us that land in the next 5 to 7 years, then we need to aggressively look at relocating that pool and building a facility that is adequate for the need and gives this community what it expects when it pays that pool tax every year. And possibly get this city and its council out from underneath this mess of having 2 buildings on property that the city does not own. We have the potential to correct one of those buildings as we move into the discussion on the adult center. I think we need to really come up with an aggressive plan on how we're going to tackle the pool. So that's my thoughts.
Yes, Mr. Biscar.
The pool's not near the dire shape that I think some of these people are saying. The plumbing and some of the electrical, but the infrastructure, the pumps, the filters, the heater is all state-of-the-art stuff that's not that old. We've updated it over the years. And I'm all for a new pool, Counselor Patton, but it's taken 20 years to build a dog park, so I can't imagine what it's gonna take to build a pool in this community. I'm all for it, but I just don't see the wherewithal in the city to get something like that done. And this pool is gonna go belly up soon, and the dressing rooms are in horrendous shape, and they need to be taken care of, and that's what this plan does, basically.
Yeah, I just want to let folks know, I am not opposed to doing these updates. I'm all for it. We need to make this facility work for the community. But what I'm saying is that for future planning, we have been talking about the school possibly selling us the land this building is on for doing something there. We need to either do our thing or get off the pot on that. And if we cannot nail them down on getting that land, we need to actively lay a game plan for figuring out where this is gonna go, whether it's with the athletic complex, whether it's somewhere else. That's what I'm getting. I'm not opposed to spending the money on making updates. I'm all for it. I wish we could do more. I agree that the what's running the pool is great, but the building is bad. And soon it might be an outdoor pool. I mean, if people are okay with an outdoor pool, we make it an outdoor pool when the front of the building falls off, we have to take down the roof. But I think we need to accelerate the plan for what we're gonna do for the future in 10 to 15, 20 years, whatever that looks like. We gotta start doing it, because we've been talking about doing it for decades, but now it's time to actually do it.
Okay. So Eric, this is pretty much baked and ready to come before the council?
Yes.
Okay, and Eileen, do we have a tentative date when that we could probably get that on there? Not something we should talk about,
Something we should talk about.
okay? But we're at that point where we can add it and move forward? Yes.
I just want to say, if we're going to continue to use the pool for 5 or 10 more years or whatever, this has to be done in order to keep using it. Otherwise, the locker rooms are going to be unusable and things like that. And I just want to say, the reason why the pool is in such good shape is because David took care of it for 30 years and Nathan's taking care of it now, and they're doing a really great job of doing that.
No, for sure. We've had a long history there, so.
Eric, which concept do you like the most?
3A does the most and makes a pass-through through the office for spectators so they don't have to go outside.
Yeah, that's the one I thought too.
So that's the one the cost I brought forward.
Okay. Great. Well, Eileen and I will put our heads together and look at the next couple of agendas, and we'll move that forward so we can get that moving forward and get those updates done. Because it's all infrastructure stuff that, like you said, has to be done if we're going to be using this for the next 5 years, at least. Did you have something, Barry?
Yeah. I mean, the only land, when you look around the city of Canby, I mean, the only land of any size is the Ackerman facility, and we've talked about that for quite a few years, 8, and we've talked about, we need to get the city and the schools to start working together to benefit the city. I mean, either a long-term lease or a purchase of that Ackerman property. And back in 2018, that's what we worked towards, but maybe that will go towards building a new pool in the future. I mean, that's the only bit of land that's really makes sense. Because there isn't anything else available that has any size.
Not unless we want to become land acquirers, which, Councilor Patton's brought up, I mean, that becomes part of it. What's that?
I said, that's great. I mean, we all agree that we need more land for park space. Where do you go? Where are you going to get it? It's not in the city.
Well, part of the comp plan process, obviously, in addressing how much land we need and stuff. I agree with Jason 100%, but we need to have the vision and we need to have the plan. And then once we have the vision and plan, then we present that to the public. But first we've got to have the vision and the plan on what it is we're trying to sell to the public.
So are you is that talking about expanding the UGB then? Okay, and then how long does that?
Well, but I agree with you too, Barry, in regards to the land around Ackerman, and the city administrator and I talked about that, and we've been talking about it as council too. And I know the city administrator is working on that project, but you're absolutely right. But it could be too that we may have to deal with other land acquisitions, which include potentially talking to the school district about some of the Baker Prairie property, where the athletic fields are Baker Prairie, the land off of Township by Trost, as well as the Ackerman complex. If we could get those, then that's going to get pretty close to what we need to increase parks and athletic fields. But I think that those discussions need to be had with the school district. Once we can establish that plan, then we can move forward on how we're going to fund those things too. But Jason's absolutely right. I think the same with the aquatic center. Where do we build a new aquatic center? I think we all know that we're headed to a new aquatic center, but where? You know, where are we going to build that? You know, and hopefully all those things start coming together in regards to our negotiations with the school district as well.
Eileen and then Counselor Patton.
I'll let Counselor Patton go first.
Oh, okay. Counselor Patton?
Yeah, so along those lines, I would say that, you know, part of creating that plan is it will put people on notice that the city is looking to do these land acquisitions. And yeah, the city might have to pay out the nose a little bit for some of this land, but the land is not going to get any cheaper. I can guarantee you that. So spend more now or spend even more later is kind of the way I look at it. I will tell you right now that as long as I am on council, and this might impede my bid for council in this election cycle, I will not vote for this city to enter into any more leases on other owned land for city facilities. This is unacceptable. It is not sustainable, and it does not allow the city to control its own destiny. The other caveat with being able to have these plans and have this master vision is when there is grant money, when there are organizations that are looking to invest in these sort of projects, when you actually have more of a plan for them, it makes it more enticing for you to get the money to actually pull them off. And so that's why I think it's critical that we actually put some pen to the paper. If we can't negotiate something with land that we've been eyeballing for several years, it's time to move forward and take a different path is kind of what I'm getting at.
So doing some quick math, there's 2.1 million in the budget for future expenses in the aquatics budget. 1.6 is proposed to do this improvement. If you're talking about buying the aquatics facility land from the school district, that, I don't know what that would cost. And what, you know, that's an unaccounted for expenditure right now.
We'd have to find that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, and that's the thing I think Jim alluded to too, Eileen, and you and I have talked about this, that, you know, new superintendent, you know, lots of things are on the table to talk about and whatnot. And so, you know, and I know that the school board knows our dream as well, you know, and you know, everyone knows, right? Land isn't getting any cheaper and God isn't making any more of it. So it's going to continue to get expensive. So it is a matter of where do you pull the trigger? Where does that go? Where does that look like? So. Perfect. Yeah, Councilor Stearns.
Sorry, and this is a random question, and it may be throwing a hand grenade, so I might have to duck afterwards, and then maybe a question for the attorney as well, Dave. But can the city condemn land from the school district? Just as a curiosity.
That is a hand grenade. Oh my gosh.
I'm up for election, you can all vote me out if you want.
I'm going to let David answer that one.
One government agency condemning another government agency? Jim, how would that go over with the fire district? Can we condemn the new fire station?
I'm just curious.
No, it's yeah.
Let's not bruise
Mr. Doofman.
before we get us started.
We haven't heard from you yet
You know,
tonight.
it's funny. I don't have a certain answer for you, but I know in some contexts, because our firm has had a situation with a city and a utility district, where city wanted to condemn or acquire utility district land. It's extremely complicated in terms of the analysis. So I don't know how that would play out, because it does sort of matter about what the entities are ultimately. Don't know how that would play out with the school district, but I will at least be able to say it's possible. That's just the legal answer. Whether, you know, politically or otherwise, that's a whole different question.
Okay. Just a question that occurred to me, and I'll take the heat for it.
No, hey, you got a legal answer.
It was a good question. It's a good question.
Eric, anything else that we should know or you want us to know about this?
I don't think so. I think that explains what we want to do. And, the sooner that we get started on it, the sooner we could use the new facilities. I mean, obviously, we've talked about the the bathroom problems too. If we have an event at the pool, we don't have spectator bathrooms, and this would also change that too, so.
And I'm sorry, Eileen, this project is budgeted this fiscal year?
No, it's budgeted to be planned for this year and get everything ready, and then due next year.
Okay, got it. Great. Any other comments, questions, thoughts on this last piece?
I got one more.
Yes,
Since
sir.
I'm not running, I can burn a few bridges, but, we have a lot of farm ground, and I'm not throwing the farmers under the bus by any means, I know most of them. Silverton, when they built their big baseball, softball complex, that ground was all farm ground. It was donated. The farmer gave it to them. I'm not saying that our farmers do that. That's a tough situation, but that's the only thing I can see coming down the pipe. If they say, I've got 50 acres here, let's give the city a good break. One time. And as far as these other projects, we all want a better pool. We want better this. The one thing the people of Canby are going to have to understand in the next few years is you're going to have to start paying for stuff. We've had stuff cheap for far too long. You want a better pool? You got to pay for it. You want more sports fields? You got to pay for it. We got to get this SDC methodology figured out. That will help immensely. But folks at Canby, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. It's just the way it is. For years, Ryan ran the baseball program. We were the cheapest program going. You have to raise it to a certain point sometime. It's just the way it is. We want a better city. We want all these facilities. We want all the bells and whistles. You got to pay for it. Bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Barry, any closing thoughts on this evening?
No.
Okay.
No.
You're not Barry.
I know. Can I talk?
You've talked a lot this evening.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman. What would you like to say?
I just wanted to, again, thank the Park and Rec Committee. I mean, you guys are volunteering your time, but, it is a pleasure to go to your meetings and actually see things getting accomplished. And, it takes each one of you, and each one of you participates, whether it's the bench program, the tree program, creating the vision and working on these. I really appreciate your efforts.
Agreed. Thank you, guys. You too, Ryan. Okay. Anything else for tonight's work session on these topics? Seeing none, I'm going to adjourn our work session for this evening. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, David.
Thanks,
for the
Jason.
Park and Rec.
Good seeing
Thank
you,
all.
David.
Appreciate it.